Hello everyone, welcome back to the workshop. Today I'm going to be taking a minute and explaining about the jigs I use in my shop. Thanks for watching. Okay everyone, here's another subscriber request. Somebody asked if I could do a little showing of this particular jig here that I was making some S-hooks on. So that's what the main portion of the video is about, but I also wanted to take and show some alternative jigs. This jig right here is essentially a very versatile jig. It's meant to be able to be used with multiple different size radius plates to make different size hooks or this or that or whatever you may have to take and bend around. I cannot be credited with this design at all. This is something that I saw on the internet, and I believe there's a guy by the name of Yesteryear Forge. He makes these and sells these on eBay. Way better than what this homemade deal is. And if I had a choice, looking back, how long it took me to drill all these holes and things of that nature, I would have just bought one from him. You know, hindsight. You know, hindsight's always 20/20. But essentially, the premise of this one is a bunch of holes drilled in a plate. This one here is a spiral kind of like pattern. I don't actually find that to be that handy, mainly because these are pretty much at random intervals. They're not spaced out very well, and so therefore, you know, it would have just been better to have a plate with just a bunch of holes drilled in it all over the place. That way you could decide wherever you wanted your pin location to be, versus the way I got it here. Now, I believe the guys online, once again, this isn't a sponsored video. It's just the guy that I know that takes and makes these, and he makes them in a very intelligent design versus this one. Once again, it's in Yesteryear Forge. They sell them. They call them, I believe, the Versa jig. So if you're interested, I'll go ahead and put a link to that in the description box. You guys can go check out his stuff over there. You know, if you're interested in that sort of thing. But anyways, the point of this jig is essentially you just pick whatever plate you want and you slip it down on your center pin, and then you move this pin to the correct position on the plate to fit the thickness of stock that you want to take and work. So, you know, like that, there's 1/2 inch. Over here, it's 1 inch, well, like 5/8, you know. Of course, had to drop the pin right on camera, you know, all the way out to whatever that is, 1 1/8 inch, 1 1/4, you know, which I wouldn't bend nothing that heavy on something like this, but it's there as an option. This jig is really handy for some things, other things not so much. The things that it's handy for is when you need to have a lot of different options as far as sizes, but not necessarily tooling change. So what I mean by that is this jig gets hot if you're bending hot metal around it. Well, what's the first thing you would do? So say I bend this side of a hook or something like that, but then I got a little small loop on the other end for whatever reason. This is hot. So it's kind of janky to try to get that off of there, keep dropping pins and whatnot. So obviously, this will be locked in a vise, so that won't be a big deal. But it gets hot. So that's not as handy versus replacing the entire jig out with just another jig that's already set up. That's one of the downsides to this style jig. But one of the upsides is as you can see, you can have a complete range of sizes of hooks that can be bent on it. I'll go ahead and make a little note here while I'm sitting here talking and running my mouth. I believe that before you take and go into making jigs or getting jigs or this or that, you need to try, if you're a beginning blacksmith, you need to try to take and develop the handwork first. It will go a lot further for you to take and practice doing your bends and stuff on the horn. Once you get into a situation where you need to take and be doing production work, then it gets into a very great ideal to have this, because there's no money to be made in making everything one-off on the horn of the anvil and can't match up sizes and things of that nature. So if you're just starting out, do not feel the necessity to take and have to get a jig right out the gate. Learn the good hand techniques, hand-eye coordination, get practiced at it, and then when you feel that you're ready or that you're starting to get overburdened with work, move on to doing jigs. So this one here, pretty much just got a flat bar. I weld it on, it locks in the vise. I don't really like stuff that goes in the anvil hardy hole. I've got enough tools around the anvil that's supposed to go in there, so I'm started making stuff to just go in the vise. I find it easier. I'm actually going to mention another guy's shop online. If you guys have seen him or not, I'm going to put a link to his channel in the description. You know, he's trying to grow his channel as well, and his name is Dennis at DF in the Shop, and you know, he's commented once or twice on my videos before and has shared his wisdom and knowledge with the community, so I just wanted to give him a little shout out there. He made a really good point. When years ago when he did production work, he actually had 3 vices set up, and this is one of those things I gleaned from his videos that, you know, I'm probably going to employ in my shop once I have some space. But he actually had 3 separate vices set up, and he had jigs and different fixtures in each vise all locked up and at the ready. That way he could go from one process to another process to another process. And that just makes so much gosh darn sense. So I will eventually probably do that in my shop. I've had that many vices before, just nowhere to put them. So I'm only working with the one that I got. Work with what you got. So hopefully that answers a little bit about my jig here. Not much else to talk about. It's essentially a plate with some drilled holes in it. Not drilled all the way through, because you don't want your pins to fall all the way through. And yeah, so that's about it. You can make this as big or as small as you like. Moving on. The next jig I like to talk about are stationary jigs. So this is a Versa jig or a versatile jig. I don't want to get copyright infringement or anything. Like I said, they call it the Versa jig over at Yesteryear Forge. It's just because it's versatile. This type of jig is what I like to call a stationary jig or a fixed jig. It's meant to do one operation and do it well, and that's it. So it's meant to work with one size interior diameter loop, and it's meant to bend one type of thing. These are very easy to construct. It don't take a lot of effort. You just got to cut a few pieces and tack weld them to a plate, and boom, you've got a jig. There again, I've got it set up to be locked in the vise. Real simple jig. These jigs, this particular jig here, as I've showed in another video, which was doing horseshoe nail hooks, that's what I used to bend them around, and this gave me a little kiss block to where I could, you know, twist the hook. And I believe I showed that in the video. And yeah, works great. I've made probably 10,000 hooks on these things since I made them. So, and there's just a different small, this is for a smaller one. This one was for draft horseshoe nails. This one here was for pony shoe nails, or whatever you call them. Pretty small stuff. Last but not least, this is one I forged for another subscriber. I'm going to get this out to in the mail to him. I think it was MTB Crafts. I'm going to make sure I get that sent out to him here soon. He had talked about, well, what if you don't have a way of, you know, welding up a jig? You know, you don't have a welder, this, that, or what have you. So that there is what I will call a no-weld jig. Once again, this is a fixed jig. It only handles one size material thickness and only does one size diameter that you can take and bend it around. So this here's your stop pin for the jig. This here is, you know, the internal diameter of whatever you're bending, an S-hook or whatever floats your fancy there. Might be the eyelet of some tool or something of that nature. That's it for jigs. There's 1,000 of them. I believe you should have 1,000 of them in your shop, especially if you're a production shop. They help out a lot, just an absolute ton when you have a lot of production work to do. Jigs, like any other tool in the shop, they are only as good as what you have designed them to do. Their purpose. Design them for the purpose, then move on. If the purpose was to do one operation and you never touch the jig again, but it helped you shave 12 hours off your day, then great. Go with that. If it didn't help you at all, then you wasted time and effort there. There's no point in overcomplicating it. Do what you have to do in order to take and get the job done as efficiently as possible. That's my thoughts on jigs. And that'll be it. Yeah, pretty much. Hopefully that answered everybody's questions. Let me know what you think in the comments section down below. And yeah, I greatly appreciate you guys and gals watching. Hopefully this was informative. If you got any questions for me or any other future video ideas, just go ahead and drop them in the comments. I read every comment. I do try to respond to everyone. And I appreciate all my loyal subscribers out there. Thank you all. God bless you. And have a great day.